19-year-old. Anyway, Nathan is not 19, but then we have the extreme good fortune to have Jill Sinkwich as our new secretary, who actually worked with was it Ministry of Finance in British Columbia, but you were part of the organization that had to deal with all these societies through this transition. And it has been a huge pleasure to watch your process at looking through the bylaws and getting them so that we can make them consistent, not just with ourselves, but also with the Societies Act laws. And then the other person gets a big shout out is Dave Payne, our vice president, who also is particularly good at reading these things and saying, oh, that could be better this way or that way or whatever. Okay, so I want to finish the preamble, say that we're, oh my,
that was me.
okay. In going through the bylaws with a fine-tooth comb, turns out there's a whole bunch of other things that should be addressed. As Chris Gainor said, this is happening at the national side also. I think there's all these unintended consequences whenever you change things. And I think that there is, when you have a multi-generation document like this, it's really good to take a full view from top to bottom. And so over the summer, we're going to have a bylaws committee. I'm hoping, Dave, that you'll be able to take a leading role in that. And if other people want to volunteer, but Jill and I will be part of it. And whether we do another special general meeting or we'll wait till the annual general meeting, there are other things and they're not substantive. It's not going to change how we run, but it will make for a smoother basis on which our society operates. With that, I'd like to pass the floor over to Jill to talk about specific resolutions, and then we will vote on them. And the vote, each one has to be passed by a 2/3 vote. And so we will actually have to count if people are voting against. And the other thing that's important, we can have a discussion about each resolution, but we can't amend them because they have to be as they were presented to the community. Okay, with that, I'm going to pass the floor to Jill.
Thank you, Randy. And with that, I'm going to move the first resolution, which is that I'm going to move that the bylaws of RASC Victoria be amended as set out in the document circulated on April 24th to 2022 to give council discretion to appoint an underage member as an appointed officer or national council representative.
Do you need a seconder for that? I'll second the motion.
Who is that?
It's Jeff Pivnik.
Thanks, Jeff.
Third.
Everyone has seen the amendments. Randy, do you have copies of them, or were you going to put them up, the actual amendment?
I can put that up.
It's really quite straightforward. There are some deletions because all of the age requirements that are currently in the bylaws have been removed. They were inconsistent anyways, and they were sprinkled around. So when you see things struck out, that's what's going on there. And then there's a new article 8.4, which consolidates all of the age restrictions into one section. And then the essence of why we're here doing this is the 8.4, a little lower, Randy, 8.4.2, that notwithstanding the age requirement, the council may appoint a member who's less than that age as either an appointed officer or a national council representative. An underage person cannot be one of the elected officers. That's the president, the two vice presidents, secretary, and treasurer, because they become directors under the Societies Act, and the Societies Act has its own age restrictions of 18.
And interestingly, 18, not 19. So to be consistent with the Societies Act, we're also changing to 18 from 19.
We are, but that comes in the next resolution,
Sorry,
not here,
Not
not
Great.
yet.
great. Okay. So, discussion, anybody? If not, so here's how it works. We are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 here, and we're just going to vote by show of hands. And I will write down on my handy agenda how many votes. And then we will get from Chris, people will vote online, and then the proxies, they can email Chris, and you'll take a look at your email right away, and then we'll have the total, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so we call the first vote of resolution 1. All in favor? Okay, and that
Okay,
looks
well,
like- so there was 10,
9 of us here.
9. And it's 100% out there.
Well, it's working on it. I'll just give it a little bit on 7 people voted.
Oh, 27, 28 of 35, 29.
Yeah, and 3 of us are in this room, so
32.
we're looking for a maximum vote of 37. So 29 people have voted, last 30 have voted.
31.
Okay.
Oh. I didn't see it on my screen.
Okay.
What are you waiting for?
Waiting for the VP.
Let's point out that Betty and I both voted yes, but of course, we only got one online ballot.
Okay, so there's another proxy then.
Okay.
Betty's a proxy.
Right, and
And we've got,
how many do you have? in your
I
emails?
have, David has 1, Jill has 1, and I have 1. So I assume our people are all voting in favor as well, so that's 4 more than the votes that are up there.
Okay, so it's unanimous. It is.
I will end the poll and share the results.
Okay, so
maybe.
we have 36, 43.
So yeah, 33 sessions plus, yeah. Plus 9 plus 4.
Oh, 44. But it's unanimous, so there's not, we've got the 2/3. Okay, let's move on. So
I
I
will,
put it up as this.
and again, I will move this resolution. I move that the bylaws of RASC Victoria Centre be amended by changing the minimum age for eligibility to stand as an elected officer, appointed officer, or national council representative from 19 years to 18 years.
I'll second that. That's Bill Weir.
Okay,
And this is what Randy was referring to, that our bylaws, they have both 19 and 18 in there. The Societies Act of BC has, and all of the corporate legislation in BC for years has accepted 18 as kind of the age which you can hold office, and as does the federal legislation.
and do we have a discussion on this?
Presume no insurance impact there. Our policy is good for changing that.
That's the question. Is there any insurance implication?
Well, the only important insurance that we have is the public liability for events, and that's handled by the national RASC. Our only insurance, as far as I know, is for contents of VCO, which is not part of the age issue.
Okay. So,
Should we call the question?
I would call the question. So we can now vote resolution 2. So in person, all in favor? We've got the 9. Okay, we'll just wait for more people to vote out there.
Those online people are so slow.
31, 32.
We have one raised hand there.
We have a raised hand.
Susan Charnock, did you want to say something? Or was
No,
that?
I wasn't, I submitted, but I thought you also said at one point you were going to show a raise of hands, so that's what I did.
People in person.
Oh, in person people, oh, no, okay, take your hand down, sorry about that confusion.
No problem.
Okay, and
We'll end the poll then.
the poll, and we have the proxies.
Yes.
Okay, and that's gonna be
The
4.
same as again, yeah.
And we have unanimous. Excellent. We can now go to our 3rd resolution. Oh, can you?
Well, it's not there, actually. They're not seeing it.
Oh,
For some reason, we're both.
This is our screen.
Ignore us. Carry on.
Okay, so Jill,
Yeah, can you show the actual wording of the resolution, maybe? I will read that the resolution is to move that I'm moving that the bylaws of RASC Victoria Center be amended as set out in the document circulated on April 24th, 2022, to clarify the status of persons elected or appointed to officer positions.
and here we go with. Are you seeing the shared screen?
Yes.
I'll second that motion also, Joe. It's Jeff Pivney.
And the purpose of this, these changes is because there was a little bit of confusion about who was exactly who under the officer positions. And so it just clarifies that everybody essentially is an officer. And the reason that's important is because another provision of the bylaw says that the council consists of the people who are the officers. So this is clarifying that everybody is an officer. It's also, I think, most significantly clarifying in 8.1.3 that the officers that are in 8.1.1, that is the president and vice president, president's secretary and treasurer are the directors for the purposes of the Societies Act. That reflects what happens, in fact, that we are the ones that are filed at the corporate registry as directors, but this clarifies that that those roles are those that become the official directors. And then there's just some other clarification and consistency of wording changes that have no significance or no substance.
Okay, discussion. That's a fine discussion. I think we should call the question. So, all in favor in the community center, we have 9 here.
We won. Do we get another round of cookies? Absolutely.
Yes.
There's lots of cookies. Thanks to our president.
Well, I thought we were extending that term of the president.
Better change the bylaw.
Number 4.
That might come up during the summer. But I'm on that committee, you know.
Okay, I think that's good. 34 of 34 have voted. All in
Okay.
favor, and we'll share the results.
And it's all in favor. My goodness, it's all unanimous. Oh, ye of little faith. And with that, I think we can move to adjourn.
Congratulations, Jen.
That was painless
Okay.
exercise.
Thanks, Jill.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
a lot, Joe.
Thing right now is to say thank you to Jill, who gave long explanations to me about why it had to be in 3 motions and not 1, but was just in case there was anybody who didn't vote for one part, we would still be able to vote for the other part. And so the wording was all beautifully constructed, but it was all unanimous. So yay. Thank you, Jill. Thank you, Dave. So there will be an email announcing our council meeting for next Tuesday. So that is 8 days from now. The agenda is getting kind of large, but that's the way it is. There's things to talk about. But so that the official announcement for that meeting will happen, I guess, tomorrow, right, Jill? And then when is the next national meeting? It's in early June. Bill probably knows.
I think they put it off to June 12th, if my memory serves me right.
That's right.
Okay. Anyway,
Yeah, it's June 12th now.
we will have two national reps, official national reps at that time. Does it make more sense for me to look at that camera or at this camera? It looks dumb either way. I look dumb in the other way.
But
Okay.
you gotta look actually at Joe's laptop.
I should
That's
look
where-
at that one.
That's
Okay.
where you need to look.
Randy,
Yes.
you can toss my name onto the list. Happy to participate in the committee over the summer from the bylaws.
That would be great, except I don't know who's speaking.
Dan,
Oh, that was Dan. Okay.
We've got a couple of raised hands. Jill and
Okay.
Jeff.
Jill and Jeff.
Jill first. I
Jill,
guess.
thank you.
Thanks. I just want to, while you're thanking people for working on the bylaws, I want to acknowledge Chris Purse, who did some great stuff. And thank you, Chris.
Excellent.
Okay.
And Jeff.
Randy, I just wanted to clarify the date of the council meeting. I thought there were two dates that had been kicked around. One was the 24th of May and the other was the early June one.
And the 24th was by far the more popular date.
Perfect. Thank you. Just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah.
24th of May.
I think
Yeah.
almost
24th.
everybody preferred the 24th to the next week. Okay.
And maybe the other thing we should congratulate now is Nathan on his official status.
Oh, no, that happens at the council meeting.
Okay, you're not gonna do it tonight.
That's a council role. Okay, well, now that we've done the business, let's have some fun. On the agenda, we're going to talk about the eclipse, and I hope lots of people can talk about what they did or did not see last night. And then there is the black hole, and I prepared a presentation to talk about that, but I would love people to chime in about what they know about black holes in general and Sag A star in particular. But let's start with the eclipse. Who'd like to start? Oh, and is there anything else? Anybody else have anything to show?
I can't figure out how to raise a hand on this, but I have one quick thing to show, which is just some Plaskett images for the group.
Excellent. Okay, so we'll do eclipse, Plaskett, and then the black hole. Anything else? Things always come up. Mr. Gainor, are you going to give us anything about Space News?
Nothing new about Webb.
Okay.
And again, I'm sorry I can't make it in person. If this was 3 years, I actually don't feel pretty good, but compared to the weekend, and if this was 3 years ago, I probably would go, but it isn't 3 years ago, as we all know. So I hope to come down to the in-person meeting 2 weeks from now, and you know, I'll also be up on the hill when we have events up there. So if you want a book signed or want a book, just tap me in the shoulder or something.
Oh yeah, so Lauri, let's have you also give us just a bit of news about what we're expecting from the Friends. And let me just make really clear, next week is the long weekend, so there is no Astro Cafe next week. And then the 30th we're holding one. And then our wonderful, what do we call you? Our hosts, our Astro Cafe hosts are saying, let's take a break. And I have no good argument to say that you don't deserve a break. So we're going to take off for the rest of the summer. I think we might do a maybe an impromptu one by Zoom. It wouldn't scare me, but we're not going to do any official Astro Cafes over the summer.
Oh, and just a reminder on that one in 2 weeks, Joe will not be here, so we need somebody to do the Zoom part.
Aha, good.
Or else it's only going to be in person.
Okay, did you hear that? We need a volunteer. It's not difficult. It's just you have to pay attention to details.
It helps to have a nice laptop. That certainly has been helping.
Okay, can we talk about that later, Alex?
Yeah.
Awesome. Lauri.
Hi, Randy. Oh, so after Lauri, could I go, Randy? It's Janeane.
Okay, Janeane.
After Lauri would be fine.
Yes, I was just going to say, I can just talk about the Star Party coming up next Saturday.
On the long weekend is the next one.
So it's this coming Saturday,
Very good.
the 21st, right?
So go ahead.
Me? Do you mean me, Randy?
Oh, no, Lauri.
Oh, you want to do? Okay.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were putting me on the list.
No, I put you on the list now.
Oh. Oh, okay, sorry. Okay. So
These things.
our FDAO Star Party is going to be held on this coming Saturday. It is going to be a hybrid model. Hopefully this will work for us. I'm sorry, I'm really not in very good light here. Excuse me. We're having James Nemec, or Jim Nemec, is going to be speaking to us, and he's going to be doing a talk on some of the first discoveries that were made by the Plaskett. So it's kind of going back into the 1920s, into the 1930s, and talking a little bit about what has happened and why some of the discoveries of the Plaskett were so important. The number of tickets, tickets have all been sold, or not sold, but have been given away. They go within about 48 to 72 hours when we put them out. But we still would like to obviously ask if there's anyone from the RASC that would like to put their telescopes up on the deck or in the parking lot. And I believe that Saturday is looking a little bit better than other days, that we would love to have you come up. We just need to know if you are going to be putting your telescope up, because we do need to make sure that that we have your name and that's all kind of taken care of. I'm not sure exactly who is going to be up at the welcome table this coming week. Gary Sedun was going to be looking at who is going to be on the table, but that's all ready to be done. And I think we're well on our way for getting things organized. The hybrid model comes into it because we're going to be having at the same time a virtual Star Party. Will be on Zoom and on the YouTube channel. And at the 8 o'clock presentation, we will be streaming Jim Nemec from the auditorium. And then there will be a couple of other things that are happening that will be done with Don Moffat, who's at home. And so that there will be, so if you can't get up and you can't get up to the Star Party itself in person, that there will be a virtual component of the Star Parties on those Saturday nights as well. So hope it all works. And David Lee is going to try to get some of the EAA streaming up, streaming with some of the work this weekend. We might, as I say, David, it actually looks like not too bad a night. We actually might be able to do something with that. So that would be.
Yeah, sounds good. And
Yeah.
actually, if I might add,
Yes.
if there's anybody here who's interested in helping in that initiative, I'd love to hear from you, because the scopes haven't been used for a while, so I need somebody to help me dust them off and get them going.
Yeah. We have nice equipment. Thank you, Dan.
Yeah, we
for
do.
Getting that 2 years ago. We got some nice new equipment, and it needs to be all put together and started up. So we're really happy to be able to be in person and trying to get everything organized up there. So thanks, everybody.
So Lauri put me down as scope on the deck.
Thank you. I will, Bill. Thanks. Anybody else, just throw your name in the chat if you know that you'd like to come up. So.
Alex says yes.
Alex Schmidt.
Oh, thank you, Alex. Great.
Janeane.
Hi, just a couple things from Nanaimo Astronomy related to RASC Victoria. Just want to say thank you so much for recording Astro Cafe and making it available afterwards, because I think, and then Joe Carr's transcript, which is invaluable. We shared that on our Nanaimo Astronomy Facebook page after our president, Chris Bohr, presented, and that's just an enormous resource. And I just really want to thank the people that do that. Secondly, who knew that the word hybrid would be so much in our lexicon these days? David Lee will be presenting to us at our main meeting on Thursday, May 28th via Zoom from Victoria. And we're going to try our first hybrid meeting as well, using some of the, I've taken screenshots of what you're doing here, Randy, and that's also helped us. So the last point is, at this point, we're just trialing that meeting with David with our members only. And David, I didn't run this by you, but if anyone here would like to come and hear David speak on Kitt Peak in the Sonoran Desert, please let me know. Or actually, you could email info@nanaimoastronomy.com, and I'll put that in the chat. I hope that's okay with you, David.
Oh, certainly. It may have been seen a few years ago when I actually returned from Kitt Peak, but I'm a little bit a wiser person now, so I think I'll add a few elements to it.
Wonderful. Well, I didn't really pass this by our executive, but I think one or two folks from RASC Victoria, in addition to our members, would be completely complimentary. And thank David also for his pre-meeting with us on the joys of hybrid meeting production. Thanks, Randy.
Excellent. Who would like to talk a bit about last night?
Well, I guess I can start, Randy. I was kind of urged on by Sid. I kind of had written it off. But I was going to head either to Mount Tommy or Cattle Point, and at the last minute, I decided Cattle Point. So I spent a very cloudy, wet time at Cattle Point, and I'll have to tell you, I think I saw Dave. Dave came by as well. So I can tell you that equipment does dry out. I was very, very wet, and so was my equipment. And when I got home, to add insult to injury, when I got home, as I was unpacking, and when I was unpacking the last bag, I turned around, and there was the moon. So I don't know. I'll just share this with you. I don't really know if the bronze effect was actually from the moon, but I think I have a feeling this is penumbral. By the time I shot this, it was actually in the penumbral phase. So it would have been extremely subtle, if any redness at all. So I'm not sure if that's attributed to that, but it was quite of an amazing show of cloud, but none of the characteristics of the blood moon. So I got no blood out of the moon, out of the sky that evening, but kind of weird cloud formations.
What time were those pictures?
These were, I'm pretty sure they're like 1050 or something like that. Almost 11, actually.
Yeah, it's almost finished, but at 11 it was finished.
Yeah, yeah. So it at best it's penumbral.
Yeah.
It would not have had any kind of coloration to it.
Mhm.
But you know, the thing I was really amazed by some people that were totally skunked and some people that actually ended up with images, that it is so site specific. I mean, I'm not that far away from Cattle Point, and to have it just be different, it's all to do with those columns of clouds, right?
Yeah. So Nathan, you want to talk about our exploit?
Sure. So yeah, we set up on your porch and we were lucky enough to have a pretty continuous clear spot, very small, luckily exactly where the moon was. And here's just one that I got. I used a bit of an HDR on this one because my phone has this thing on its camera that it can take a range of exposures. So I guess I did get a bit of blood out of this one.
That is pretty classy though. It's not like, that is impossible to do with a single exposure, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I guess your eyes kind of do that, but
Yeah.
I don't know if I've taken a picture like that before. I don't know. And in some ways, I honestly like the partial phases more than totality because, you know, in totality, it still looks like a full moon, just red. But in the partial phases, it really looks unnatural. Like you could never get a moon that looks like this in anything other than an eclipse. So
It's excellent. Excellent, Nathan.
oh, thank you.
So Nathan, by the water, it looks like you didn't have as much cloud as I had up further away from the city.
It really is even less than which city you're in. It's like,
Well, I'm up in Saanich, but I was just surprised. Like even from Oak Bay to where Kettle Point is to Saanich, it was quite a bit different.
So
well, I
Nathan-
wouldn't say we had good weather.
You had better. You had better weather.
Nathan and I arranged to do the observing together so that we could do that crater timing that we talked about a couple of weeks ago. And Nathan said, can I invite a couple of people? And he ended up inviting 7 people.
Well, that's technically not a couple, but
They brought cookies.
well, then it's okay.
Then it was okay. I can go into my Facebook. I took a picture and put it on Facebook, but it was Tess. It was how old?
Tess is 12.
12. She's the one who saw the moon. She's the one who caught it first.
Yeah, she saw the moon first. Here, why don't you come on? You want to come on?
Anyway, why don't I see if I can.
Yay!
Brian stayed the whole time with us and he took some pictures. Let me take the screen. So this is, I'm just going to have to go to my Facebook. Oh yeah, that's a useful cartoon for us. But what I want to do is go Facebook. Randy. Yeah, that's Nathan with his 8-inch dog. This is on my porch, and there was a nice little window here between the lamppost and the door of the porch, and we were safe from the rain. And you can see my eyepiece sticking out of Nathan's head. This is not a very good picture, but these are the cookies. There we go.
Oh wow!
I was impressed with the cookies. Envious, I guess. would be a better word.
Well done. Very nice.
Complete with craters. Yeah.
And the man-
I think those are mare. They're too big to be craters.
Okay.
Yeah, they're married. Yeah.
You're the
Lunar
lunatic.
detail.
You're the lunatic.
Okay.
Randy, what was the earliest or what was the lowest altitude that you saw the moon? Or was it quite high up before
Oh,
you
no,
saw it?
no, it was, I would think it was about 12 degrees when we first saw it, 12, 13. And it, by the time it finished, we were up at about 20 degrees.
So just above the roof line then, probably of the
Yeah,
houses,
yeah,
right?
I checked it out. I knew that it was going to be above the roof line. Where is Brian's? Oh, no, it was Nathan sent me Brian's thing. Okay. So these didn't come through big. So Nathan, ask your father to send them again, but there we have the two telescopes. He took a good picture of us looking at the eclipse together.
Double click on
No, but you do that and it just comes up like this.
it. Oh,
I think it's just, he decimated the picture before he sent it to me. Anyway, it was fun and it's very nice having company with something like this.
this is Les.
Oh,
behind I just wanted to concur with David's indication that it's very site specific because I didn't see any of the eclipse from my west facing condo.
oh, and Nathan kept getting reports from Brazil and from Colorado.
Oh yeah, we did a bit of a joint observation with the cosmic generation. Unfortunately, I haven't gotten any measurements on crater timings from them. They just sent in pictures. But I mean, it is easy to lose yourself in its majesty. So yeah, I don't blame them.
So we saw a couple. Nathan and I saw it going past Copernicus and Plato. And then the rest, it was fighting the clouds the whole time. But we did get two. So now I can say, you can kind of say when the shadow is there to about 10 seconds precision. That's a bit optimistic, but I certainly wouldn't say that you could do it to more precision than that. So that's one step in trying to figure out how to use these crater timings.
So those were disappearances or reappearances?
That was reappearance because we only were seeing the last half of the eclipse. I think seeing when it drops into the umbra might be, because you can see what it is. You have to kind of anticipate when that feature is going to show up. So you're looking at your map, you're looking at what's illuminated, and now it's a bit further than that. Anybody else have any tales of woe or victory?
Well, I went down to Cattle Point to see if it was possible. It's only 5 minutes from my house. Took my binoculars, went out at the point and met a certain astronomer there. And it was very quickly obvious that the eclipse from Cattle Point was going to be a wash. So I went home.
I think Nathan motivated me because of that Mercury transit experience, which I decided not to go. Where were you? It was Turkey Point for that one?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
And you guys actually saw it. And I felt, I've always regretted, because now I have to wait until I'm like 150 years old.
So, at least it's not a Venus transit, which is even further.
Well, that's what happened to the Venus transit for me is we chased around half of northeastern Alberta trying.
I made that mistake not to go to the one in 2012. I didn't think I knew that Venus could even do that, but yeah, I'm just got to make it to 117. I mean.
So anyway, we chased around all over northeastern Alberta trying to find hole in clouds. We finally found one a little outside of Vegreville, right up against an old Ukrainian Catholic church, and we caught the first quarter to a half of the transit. managed to get some photos through my ETX knockoff. But it was almost a wash as well.
The Venus transit in Victoria was magical.
It was wonderful.
It just cleared
Yeah.
a perfect moment. And
It was a piece of cake. It was so easy.
we're going to be snookered as well.
Yeah. I think Chris Gainor got one, or I
Yes,
think-
I'll show you what happened. So I've actually been taking a bit of a break from astrophotography, concentrating on writing about astronomy. So I had zero plans to take any photos last night. And, because it was either going to be cloudy, which it was, or if it was not cloudy, some of you folks would take far better pictures that I could do. So anyway, I did check out the front window of our house, which faces eastward, on a number of times, but didn't see anything. And after I'd essentially given up, Audrey, who works upstairs and whose office window faces in the right direction, said, "I can see the moon and I can see the eclipse." So I ran downstairs and fished my camera out of my bag, and just a second here, and tried some pictures with a number of settings. Remember, there's like zero planning here, and I took one, and that's with the flash, because I tried one without the flash, and it was going to be very long exposure of the moon. Because I did try a few other settings, but its appearances were very brief, and I thought I should take a couple of pictures because it's possible I might be the only person in town who actually sees it. I'm glad I wasn't, but I thought that may be what happened. And then I tried. Then I did another one, and I actually cropped this one and posted it. So, and this was also with the flash, because the non-flash ones didn't work, and I didn't have enough time or patience to try some different settings. So, that's what happened with me in Sydney last night. Rather unexpected.
And it was Chris who posted that picture that I just happened to kind of look, and I said, "Oh, for heaven's sakes, if he's got that, so then I'll go out and it still was raining. There still was rain coming down, but over on the side. So I watched it about 10 minutes or so after.
That's right. It was raining on me, actually, not very hard, but it was raining, and yeah, those pictures were. I think I said 10:40, but when I was going through my camera, I realized I let the time kind of slip. So I think it was about 10:38, 10:39 when I took those pictures.
Right. Yeah. Well, thanks for posting, or I would have missed it completely.
So Lauri, you're not in that far a distance from Chris, and yet you saw nothing.
Well, I couldn't see it because it was too low.
I see.
Until it came over my house in order for me to see it. And by that time, I actually even was on my balcony on top of a step stool so that I could actually get high enough to be able to look over the edge. And I just looked at it with my binoculars. I didn't try anything, but I just because I knew that it was raining, I thought, well, I'm not going to be able to see anything. And then lo and behold. So thank you, Chris.
So Randy or Nathan, were you seeing the moon at 10?
No, we went down to the water to actually see if we could, where we got the horizons, because I only looked a block up. And there's this really sweet family that were talking to their, I don't know, to their son in Winnipeg, and who was saying how wonderful it was. So they were there hoping to see something, but it was completely clouded at 10.
Okay, because the space station went right over top of it.
It's on the space station. That's right. The horizon was gone, but the ISS was just beautiful going across the sky, quite high.
Yeah. It went through Virgo. Yeah.
Absolutely. It was something to watch when we weren't able to see anything else.
So, Bill, you saw nothing out at Taylor Beach?
Yeah, it was hard. There was one point where, like, I'm trying to figure out exactly where it would be, right? Because when it's cloudy, it's like you want to be staring at the right spot just in case there's a hole. And then I noticed down on the water a little circle of light.
You saw it in reflection first.
Well, that's where it told me, okay, I need to look up from there. And so I knew what area of the sky I needed to look at, because I could see that there was like a shaft of light coming down from the moon onto the water, and it was moving. Like I could see over time it was changing where it was, but I got seconds. I got like seconds where it cruised through a crack, and it was only part of the moon, but it made the cloud orange. So I don't know how much there was an eclipse or not. Could have been just refraction.
Well, cool. Well, that was pretty cool. If there's nothing else, then I think we're going to talk black holes now. How about that?
On that note, for those of us who are sports fans and we live in Western Canada, we know for sure that all of the sports coverage is centered in Toronto, CBC, CTV, the Toronto Sportsnet, whatever. Well, on Saturday night, we got additional proof when the Leafs crashed out of the Stanley Cup playoffs for the umpteenth time. There's a black hole at the center of the universe.
Randy, just before we hop in for the black holes, do you mind if I share these Plaskett?
Please, yes.
Plaskett frames. So,
yeah, thank you.
Evening, everybody. Apologies for the delay in getting some of this out. My backlog has been growing with work, but I decided to get this all together into one image. And apologies if anybody's already spotted this. But I've assembled a lot of the Plaskett images that we've taken on RASC nights over the last couple years. I think the oldest one here is NGC 7331, which was back in 2017 that Michelle and I did. But I've reorganized all of the data, and I can try and get this panel out of the way. So going from left to right, we have the whirlpool, which came out of the March 5th or March 6th session. The whale galaxy, which was one of the two that we managed to get out of the data on April 30th. The Deer Lick group, NGC 7331, which came from 2017. The fireworks galaxy, 6946, which I think was 2019. Messier 100, which is the second image that we got out of April 30th. M63, the black eye, which again was March, I think it was 6th. 3718, which is one of the ARPs, ARP 273, I think. The Sunflower Galaxy, which again was a 2019 vintage. These two were taken on the same night. And Hickson 44, which was Bill Weir's suggestion, which we caught on March 5th or 6th. So I just wanted to bring these together and share, because the Plaskett nights are of course for the enjoyment of all members, and it seems unfortunate to me when we get to share some of these images with the public during public education and outreach, and don't always get a chance to circle back with everybody in kind of in a session like this where we have a chance to chat about it for a second if there are any questions or glean any future targets people would like to see captured. So just wanted to take 2 minutes and go over this.
Those are beautiful, Dan. When we do our programs with the schools, one of our main questions is, do you have any pictures of what the Plaskett sees? And we don't usually have anything that is already up, like and ready to go for like to do this. And this would be a lovely composite to show students what the Plaskett is actually seeing. How do we get copies of this kind of thing that we could?
I threw a full size, I think it's like 9,000 by 3,000 copy of this up on Zenfolio. So it's just up on my one, and by all means, please, anybody who's doing anything to do with public education, public outreach, anything like that, that's what these are for. Obviously, this is just my take on it. The other part of this, and the other reason why I wanted to kind of bring everything together, is that I'm working on pulling all the data back, and I've got everything but the data for these two images, and I tried pulling it down off of the astrophysics database again because I have an account now, but it has a bit of a stingy file format that I remember there's a workaround I did at the time to get the FITS files down. Otherwise, they go into a generalized zip that nothing seems to be able to open. So I'm working on that, but once I get it, I'm going to clean all of this up again, put it all into a series of ordered file structures, and then I'm going to upload that onto the RASC Tech Google Drive account, and then provide a link again, just so that we can all access this data as well, because it's member data if anybody'd like to play with it. I think I saw a hand pop up somewhere.
Bruce wants to say something.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Sorry, it was about Skynews afterwards, so I was just put it down again to wait till you were done.
Bruce, as always, standing for whatever you want to take, whenever you want to take it.
Okay. No, I just wanted to say that Sky News is underway. I want to do I've sent a few emails out for people, do another tapestry article for next month for the lunar eclipse, so that people could basically have their little pieces of little snapshots of the center activity from their point of view. So I want to do one of those articles for next month. And obviously for Janeane, I really enjoyed your president's Apollo talk, even though I usually see these things about a month afterwards when I go through all the Zooms to do the Astronomy Cafe article. It was really good. And yeah, we're doing, I think we're trying to do a solar art basically issue next month. So if anyone's got any solar stuff they want to talk about, articles they want to write, next month is their solar issue. I'm most of the way through working this month's issue out. A few reports need to come in. I sent emails about that. And yeah, we're pretty much done. I'm doing an article on watches in the Apollo program and space program in general. And it's a bit of a monster to tame as an article goes, given my internet issues these days. And well, hopefully I'll be able to get that out in time for this issue this month. That's pretty much it.
That's great. Dan, your image, how similar is the processing between those? They're so different in their color and their textures, and I just love that. But how much that is just the wonder of the sky.
So what you're seeing is a progression of learning how to work with Plaskett data over time, because it's particularly difficult to work with. Just if anybody's curious, it's all false color, because none of these are, and sorry, I can throw these back up so you don't have to look at my face. None of these are shot in what we would normally shoot with a monochrome camera filter set. So they're not RGB. These are what are called Sloan Digital Sky Survey photometric filters. So it's G prime, R prime, I prime. G prime being something between blue and green in its coverage. R prime being a very orange to deep red, and then I prime being a bit past 700 nanometers. So it's so red it would look brownish, and you can actually see the effect of it with how the sensor behaves when it's interacting with that near infrared light, because it creates bleed between the pixels and all kinds of other stuff. There's a term for why it does it, but I can't remember it at the time. So when I say it's a journey of learning, you can see that I've found a bit more natural approach on the left here, which were all processed on more or less the same day or within the day of each other. And then as we go over down memory lane, my processing is a bit more wild, just because I was struggling so much to find a way to balance out how those different filters play together.
Do you have a reasonable way of actually substituting reasonably accurate color, or is it all just kind of what you think looks best when you have to do that?
Reasonable way. Now that I cracked,
I like the more colorful ones, Dan.
I know. They're not. I figured I'd give a smattering here of different approaches. Yeah. There are ways to do it. So the reason why we, or at least I try and shoot either galaxies or reflection nebula when we're on the Plaskett, is not because it can't take pictures of a emission nebula. It's just that with the filters, that red dominant R prime frame will just be green. So you get very strange looking results when you do it. But because these are basically clouds of stars, right? That's what a galaxy is. It's a really nice test of how black body emitters work, because they're predictable in their emission. So given that these are black bodies, you can skew everything over to the left and shift that green to blue and the red to green and so on. And as long as you keep the balance between them, you actually come out with a natural looking color image like this. Where it becomes unnatural is where if you look closely and you look at the hydrogen alpha regions in here, you'll see that they're lime green. But I can't do anything about that because, again, they're emission targets.
That's cool. Chris has a question.
Just kind of a comment. I've been thinking about this lately, but you know, the creation and opening of the center of the universe, which is now more than, it's 21 years ago now, opened the door for us to get our hands on the Plaskett telescope. And I can remember I took a couple of images on the Plaskett. Well, there was a whole bunch of us went up there, and that was almost 20 years ago. I can remember the exact date because it was the first anniversary of 9/11, so it was September of 2002, and I took a couple of images there. There was a whole bunch of people. I remember Chuck was there, and probably a few people who were here tonight were there too. But it was kind of a different time because we were just sort of barely getting into processing at the time, and these FITS images that we got were quite daunting. And so I actually collected these the FITS images and stuck them in my computer and left them there for about 7 or 8 years until one day I talked to John, and this was back in those happy days when we both lived near each other in Fairfield, and near the where the in-person meeting is happening. And so I took those images up there and finally got them processed, and now it's it's amazing here. These are really, the ones that Dan is showing are really nice. But anyway, we have a bit of history to our time on the Plaskett telescope.
Well, and
Chris, that was fun.
Yeah.
All of these opportunities to use the Plaskett are, of course, provided in recognition of the public outreach that RASC Victoria provides. So These last two, we weren't able to go up in person just because the weather was so dicey for each of the nights. But if we're successful on applying on the calendar, if my application gets accepted for the next number of quarters, we'll of course be doing in-person nights where we can. I think the observers room is still limited at the moment to 2 individuals, so the observer plus 1. But if anybody's interested or would like to get up there and run a whole night, please raise your hand, send an email, and we'll make it happen.
Yeah, I remember that particular night where we had quite a number of people there. And it's also one of the best skies I've ever seen up on the hill. It was just incredible that night.
I love that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. That was really great, Dan. Thank you so much. So now I'm going to take the screen again. I hope you guys don't get sick of me talking. Here we go. Start at the beginning. There we go. And I'm just going to move this. Where am I going with it? Whatever. Okay, so I gave a very similar talk on April 22nd, 2019, when the Event Horizon Telescope did its first big announcement, and that was for the first image of the black hole in the middle of the Virgo galaxy, M87. And here we have, on the same scale, what they presented on the 12th. So this was a great big announce with simultaneous press releases in Washington and somewhere in Germany. Was it Frankfurt? I mean, it's kind of cool seeing them similar, but different. Anyway, let's go talk about them a bit. So I went through Zenfolio and saw this picture of John's, which he says took in New Mexico. Is that right? Anyway, it's
Painted Pony.
I was at the Painted Pony in New Mexico.
So I do like this Zenfolio where you can just search for a word and it comes up. Anyway, what you have there is the teapot of Sagittarius and going straight towards the galactic center. And as you can see in visual light, it's you can't really see it. There's too much dust. And so it gets absorbed by the visual light. But when Karl Jansky in 1931 set up this telescope, he saw there was something really bright in Sagittarius. And by 54, they figured that it was very likely the galactic nucleus. They didn't know what it was, but they knew that there was something that was emitting a lot of radio. In this case, very large wavelength, 75 centimeter. So just to compare, the Event Horizon Telescope is doing 1 millimeter wavelength. So it's quite a different kettle of fish. And this is just to show that the galactic center is very, very different in all the different wavelengths. And so the 1 millimeter is going to be somewhere between mid-infrared and molecular hydrogen, I think. Anyway, they know that there's something really funky going on at the same co-located with this strong emitter, because once they started doing infrared images of the stars around there, tracking them from 1992 around to 2002, they went zoom, and they said, oh boy, there's something very small and very massive there, And in fact, you can say, because of following Kepler's laws of planetary motion, you can say that it's about 4 million solar masses. So that was worthy of a Nobel Prize. And with Genzel and Gez. And thing is, even the closest star is like the distance, it's the size of the solar system. The closest star was, I think, about the distance that Pluto is from the sun, but went around in 15 years as its period. So now let's do some optics. And, you want big telescopes, not just to look at fainter things, but also to have better spatial resolution. The angular resolution is equal to the wavelength divided by the diameter of your telescope. And so, for example, in visible light, then, oh dear, I can't see the bottom of my screen. Oh, I can see it up there. That's good. We have two screens. So the Hubble at 2.4 meters can see 0.1 arc second. Okay, so that's called really, really good telescope, taking some of the best pictures that everybody loves of galaxies and things. But if you want to see what's in the middle of the galaxy, you need 25 micro arc seconds sort of resolution. So that's why I extended this graph up. And so, if we wanted to do that with visible light, then we would just follow this up and, an 8 kilometer mirror would do it. That sounds okay. But wouldn't work anyway because of the dust, so it'd be a waste. No, we're going to do it with 1 millimeter. And so let's go up. And so all you need is about 20,000 kilometers. And, that just happens to be about the size of the Earth. So very clever minds got together. And it's really sweet when you watch these press releases. They're just so happy that it worked because they didn't know it was going to be possible. There's so many technological challenges. One of the things that's important is at these wavelengths, water absorbs the radio waves like crazy. So these are all up on high mountains. And the best one is Chile. And the thing about the ALMA radio telescope is it's got amazing resolution all by itself. And so that's really what underpins the whole thing. And then they link the data with Hawaii, Arizona, the South Pole, Spain, and you kind of make a big telescope that way. So I prepared this for the last one, and I still like it. So this is the design for the 30-meter telescope. And so every pair of telescopes kind of puts a point on the map, on this mirror. And so if you're just in one place, then it's like you're in the middle of this bottom diagram. And then the further apart two telescopes are, then the better the resolution. So, and then the fact that the Earth is spinning while they take the measurements means that you get a whole bunch of points. But it's a bit like you're looking at the 30-meter telescope where you've blocked out most of the mirrors and you just have these few, but you still have a bit of information there that you can put it together. And there was this wonderful thing that one of the people said, one of the presenters talking about how they do the processing. And they say it's a bit like having a piece of music on a piano, but you're missing a whole bunch of the keys. And so, and they actually put this example, they wrote it out. It's like ba 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 ba. And what piece is that? And you don't have to sing the whole thing. And most people would recognize that if I were singing it okay. Did you recognize that?
No.
Oh, man. Anyway,
You're in the musical gulag.
so there's a lot of work of inference, of modeling, but also of, you know, a lot of brute force measurements. What happens is there's so much information, you can't send it by the internet. You actually put it on these hard disks, which have to be super duper hard disks because they have to work at very high elevation and they can't fail. And then the ones down on the South Pole, you can't even get them out until it comes into Southern Hemisphere summer. And they did the measurements in April, so they had to wait until, you know, something like September, October before they could get the data to a warmer place so they could actually process it. So for the Sag A star, they've been doing campaigns every year, but this particular announcement was from their first campaign. So they had to find a time when all of these different telescopes were functioning, available, and had to have good weather because rain just kills this this processing. And so this is, and so they had a 10-day window in April 2017, but they only are using 2 days of data because the rest was pretty crappy. And they're using the these other things like these other targets for calibrations. And they presented those also in other press releases, but people like black holes. So that's what they're showing off. Anyway, so on Thursday at 9 Eastern time, so whatever that is in the afternoon in Europe, they said at 9:07 you can show the picture, not before. So there was this little bit of preamble and yammer, and then at 9:07 in both places they show that donut, and at the same time Astrophysical Journal letters published these about 10 papers, and they're all open access, and they're really quite fun to read. Yeah, so 288 authors. That was just for the first paper. There's a lot of similarities in the author lists between them, and I didn't go through all of them, but yeah, this is, you can say that you were 1/300th of a paper. But just imagine how many people were keeping the secret, like thousands, right? Because all the technicians, all the people who had to review these papers, I mean, it couldn't have been a very good secret. And I saw an interview from 2018 of one of the Mucky Mucks, gave a really good interview, an hour-long interview. And he says, I'd love to tell you what we saw, but then I wouldn't be able to work with these people anymore. A really good interview. And both of the, from Thursday, you can see both online, the American and the European press conferences, and they're sweet. I really enjoyed watching them. Here's the comparison between the two. And so what do you see? About the same size? Well, that's interesting since they're about 1,000 times difference in distance, but M87 is about 1,000 times bigger. So it's just one of those crazy anomalies. I think this is 40 microseconds across, and this is 50, something like that. Anyway, Sag A star is also fuzzier, and it's not because and also it took what 3 more years to process. And it's because it's way different. For the shortest time that something would go around the event horizon of M87 takes a day or so. Whereas it just takes under an hour for things to go around Sag star. And there are big flares coming off. And so a lot of the processing assumes that you're looking at the same thing. And when they look at the light curve, it was bouncing around all over the place. Yeah, so this is talking about the last stable circular orbit. So, you know, if a light ray is coming along way up here, it'll get bent, you know, like the 1919 eclipse of the sun, that was the first proof of general relativity. But as you get closer and closer, then it'll go around, and at some orbit, it will just keep going around and around and around and around. And it turns out to be, this is something that I heard, I haven't seen written down or explained, but it's the square root of 27, which means about 5 times the Schwarzschild radius, but the square root of 27. And it's very specific. That's the size. And it's only the mass of the black hole that defines that. And so when, the Milky Way, the thing is 50 microsecond arc seconds across, and M87 is 40 micro arc seconds across. When you look at that donut, the first thing is how big is that ring, and that tells you the mass. This is pictures. They said one of the ways that they analyze it to figure out, you know, you want to know things like how fast is it spinning, how magnetic is it, but there's no big beam of X-rays coming out like in M87, and so they don't know which way it's spinning. So all they can do is they can say, well, it is not consistent with the black hole being in the plane of the galaxy. It's actually kind of pointing towards us. Like they say, likely within 30 degrees of pointing towards us. So that's a whole question. Why is the rotation of the black hole not in the plane? Like the sun is rotating around in pretty much the same plane as the ecliptic. But this is more like is it Uranus that's spinning on its side? That's more like what this black hole seems to be doing. Yeah, and then, you know, they really tried to cross all the T's and dot all the I's and make it totally rigorous. And so they got different teams independently to do the image processing and do it many, many times. And then they kind of sorted them into 4 different classes. Somehow these 3 at the left are, there's something significant. I think it's which of these lobes is the brightest. And then there was the ones that didn't look like donuts. But as you can see from the histogram, that's only about 5% of the images. And so they're pretty confident that there's a donut. And when you fit a circle to that ring, then you get to be the same mass that Genzel and Gen, what's her name? Anyway, the two people got the Nobel Prize. Giz, thank you. They get the same answer. We're running out of time. I'm not going to go through too much, but the mass is 4 million solar masses, plus or minus 1. So it's not as nearly as accurate as what you could do with the stars going around, because that is a much better uncertainty. Yeah, the angular shadow is, 48.7 micro arc seconds. So they showed a picture of what a pixel of the Hubble is compared to the size of the whole picture. And it, like, this picture is so tiny compared to one single pixel of the Hubble. It's just a whole, it's orders of magnitude different. There's really interesting things in this text, and I'm not going to read them for you because we don't have a lot of time. That's the song I wanted to show you. I forgot I put this in here. I didn't really organize this talk perfectly. Anyway, yeah, so this lady from Caltech, just excellent speaker, and she's the one that put this slide up, and I had to play it because that looks like a D to me, and I was thinking it looks like happy birthday, but that doesn't make sense. But those are C's for anybody who's looking at this more carefully, and then it just works fine. Did I put anything else up? Oh yeah, that's one other thing. Sagittarius star is very different. It's not just smaller, but even at 4 million solar masses, it's only 100 times brighter than the sun. And they said that if you scaled it to the size of a person, it would be like eating 1 grain of rice every million years. What I haven't found is how much rice M87 is eating. And you would think that somebody would say in comparison, but it's like M87 is eating stars, you know, this big monster up there, whereas Sagittarius star is just like picking up a little bit of interstellar medium. It's a very, very different setting. I think that's where I'm going to stop.
I got a question.
Good.
Could you go back to the photograph and just explain what we're seeing?
Ah.
It's very interesting, but I don't have a clue what I'm looking at there.
You know what? It's a bit of a fantasy too. So it's fair enough. Okay, so if I go, what is it doing? I think the best thing would be to show the two and compare them. Oh, I'll just leave it like that. Okay, so because it's not just like a planetary nebula, okay, where you've got a ring of luminous stuff in a ball and you're just seeing the edges. Because you've got stuff flying around the event horizon and it is crashing into each other, these things, so much that they get very hot. Okay, and if you go to one that has the, I want to get one picture that shows the temperature scale. Do I not have one? Yeah, here. So the brightness, that is billions of degrees Kelvin. Okay, so like you can't even think what that means. I mean, it is so far beyond a stellar temperature, but we've got mostly hydrogen. Everything is mostly hydrogen, but rushing around there, getting so hot that it is emitting. But doesn't matter where that plane is and how it's rotated, because it gets warped around the black hole. You get a ring the same size. It doesn't matter which way it is. When you're looking at it, those are the few photons that are kind of just a bit about to escape, and they're coming out towards us. So in this case, what they figure is it really is the pole is pointing towards the Earth, but even if the pole were perpendicular, you still see it as a ring. It's there are good diagrams of it, but it's really hard to get your head around.
So what?
Oh, and another thing you asked, what are you seeing? The bright bits are the side that is rotating towards us is brighter than the side that's rotating away from us.
Okay.
And the added complexity in Sag star is that there are flares all the time. So the things are it's very unstable. And so it's these flares that are also, and it's changing over, you know, matter of minutes. And so they said if you came back another day, you wouldn't see the same 3 dots. You wouldn't see the same pattern. That it's a very ephemeral time average picture.
How dense is that halo of gas that we're seeing there?
Very, very low density in the Milky Way, very high density in Virgo. And that's one of the things they're really delighted with, to see, you know, you have these stellar sized black holes like the ones they're seeing in LIGO that are, you know, zipping around and crashing into each other. So those are about, you know, 10 solar masses. This one is in millions of solar masses, and then Virgo's in billions, and they're able to do all these tests with these completely different sized black holes.
But that glowing,
A little bit louder. We just speak at that microphone.
the glowing around the black hole, the density of that gas, like in relation to interstellar space, how many orders of magnitude denser is it than that?
So what I understand from that grain of rice thing is it is actually not dense. It's hot, but it's not dense. I mean, think about, you know, Earth's atmosphere gets very, very hot when you get above the troposphere, or the, what do you call it? The coronosphere of the sun. It's very, very hot, but it's very low density. It's almost transparent, but it's still emitting. So I mean, good question, but my gathering from just listening to these clever people is that it is not dense, but it's very hot. Does anybody else know? Nope.
And there's one other hand.
There's a hand.
Lauri.
Lauri.
Yes, I wanted to, just at the end, I wanted to show you my black hole.
Okay, so is there anybody before Lauri gets the last word?
Okay, I was feted yesterday by a group of people who are some friends of mine, who are actually on this, some of whom were on this call. And when I got to the place where we were, lo and behold, I had a donut shaped black hole
with a bite out of it.
With a bite out of it. And that's what I was given. That's what I was given yesterday. So I now have my very own black hole. And I must admit that there were a few people at the place where we were that weren't quite sure what was going on.
I have been living black hole for the last, what, 5 days, and it's not everybody, apparently.
Do those teeth marks match yours, Lauri?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Lauri.
Thank you.
Well,
It's not.
we finishing before 9. How about
Well,
that?
actually, it's after 9.
Oh.
We did well.
I will see council next week, next Tuesday, and we'll see everybody on the 30th for our very, very last for the season 21-22.
Thanks for the talk, Randy.
Great presentation, Randy.
Thanks, Randy.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks. Bye.